Welcome to Papa Z's Bees. We've got an interesting one for you today. We're going to continue on with what we started last time, which was to look for queen from a swarm. If you remember, we had our corner hive swarmed, and after we inspected, we found 10 queen cells, so we knew we needed to do something. We decided we would make a split, and now we'd have to go back and check for the queens to see if they've hatched. If we find them, we need to mark them. If not, we got to figure out what to do. We're going to do a couple of checks today. We're going to check this nuke to make sure that the queen made it in here, and then we're going to go out to the corner and make sure that we have a queen out there. I feel like we have one here, but I'm afraid we don't have one out there. So we'll just get into it and find out. This is a frame that we put in, so they really haven't started doing much to it. Building some comb is all they're doing, so I'm not going to worry about it. And there's lots of pollen in here and some nectar, so we know they're bringing in some stuff. So the pollen is good in that they don't normally bring in pollen if there's not queens. So I'm gonna look for eggs. Also gonna look for the queen. Not seeing any eggs or larvae. Oh, I'm seeing larvae. That's good. I'm seeing larvae. So we've got a queen, and there's where there's the cup she came out of. So now what I've got to do is find her. I really want to mark her. Not seeing the queen, but I know she's in there. There she is. Now I'm going to get a little plastic clip that looks like a hair clip almost, that you use to capture the queen off of the frame so you don't squeeze her with your hands or squish her or kill her or whatever. So I found her and I put her in the little clip, and then we're going to put basically put the hive back together. We'll let her kind of calm down, and then we're going to mark. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mark her. At least that's the plan. All over here. So I've got her in this little device here, which will allow me to scoot her up. You got her. yellow for this year. But can you see her?
Yeah.
There she is, and now she's going down inside. So the next thing we need to do is to box this thing back up and cinder everything, and then we'll go look for Okay, now we're in the look. Going to take the corner hive apart. You see, it's a lot darker back here. I'm narrating this voiceover because we had our neighbor who was mowing their yard, and it made it kind of hard to hear. So I'm going to manage this one from here. As is normal, we pull the hive apart, do smoking if we can. I've got the honey flow frame, the flow hive super on top. I'm going to pull that off, and then take the honey store off, which is what we leave for the bees. And I'm just going to go through frame after frame. It's the only thing you can do at this point. You have to closely inspect frames. On the nuke over there, we found a little bit of larvae, and that told us, hey, we've got a queen. Here, the last time we're in, we had capped brood, but it was about ready to emerge, which it did, and now I'm not expecting to find any capped brood, but hopefully I'll find some larvae, which means if we find larvae, that we have a queen. Again, it's kind of hard to see, where the nuke was, it's really a lot of sun, so it's easier to see stuff. But back here, it's just not that easy to see. It's because of the shade of the trees. But again, you have to go through each and every one, and the queen, if she is in there, tends to be rather shy, doesn't like the light, and so therefore she will run from you. So she maybe have been on this frame that I'm looking at right here, but then as soon as I pick it up, she may jump over to the next frame, and she'll do that all the way over, sometimes even to the side wall, the side of the box. So hopefully we'll find a queen. But it's rather tedious to just going through each of these frames just to see. Some of these frames, like this one in particular that I just put down, was a new frame this year, so they haven't really had the time, or they really didn't feel like they had the need to draw out comb. Or draw out comb means adding comb to a foundation, where then they can handle it, use it to do either put honey in or for the queen to lay in. What I've got now is an older frame, so it already had room, so I'm taking a little bit longer time here. And I'm going to kind of zoom through these. I'm not going to bore you with each and every one of them as I went through, because it's basically the same thing over and over and over. You got to look and see if you can find her. It's so important that we find her. If we don't, then we got to figure out what to do. There's enough bees, more bees in here than I thought there would be. The good thing, in the resource hive, or the little nucleus hive there, we have a queen. So if we need to, we can pull her over and put her in this one. I don't want to do it this time of year, because queens are easier to come by this time of year, but later in the year they may be hard to come by. So if I have to, I'll buy a queen to put in this hive. Again, not seeing anything, and these frames are extremely light because there's nothing in them. They're not putting much nectar in them. What pollen is in there, I think, is in there from when we did have a queen, because they normally don't put pollen in a hive if there's no queen, or there's no brood to be able to feed the pollen to. They'll mix that pollen with a little bit of honey, and it turned into what we call bee bread. And then as they need to feed the larvae with it, they'll turn that bee bread into royal jelly and feed it to the hive. Again, it's not looking good. I've gone pretty much all the way through this and still not seeing a queen. most of these frames I went over 2 or 3 times just to make sure, because I just didn't want to, want to get to do something if I already had a queen in there.
There's some pollen coming in.
This is kind of boring for you because there's really not anything going on here, but I'm thinking as I'm looking at this stuff, trying to figure out what in the world am I going to do. Can't find it. Can't find the queen. So what do we do now? Do we go buy a queen? Do we pull the queen over from the nuke hive, or what? I don't know what to do at this point. I'm very frustrated and very concerned. And being a new beekeeper,
The executive decision
I'm
here
trying to figure it out.
to put the queen mandibular pheromone in here to mimic a queen, so we don't get a laying worker before we can get a queen in. So you put this in the top, on the middle frame, just like this. And then they just immediately start coming towards it, because I think, man, that's a queen, that's our queen. I don't know if you can see that or not, but
These are so
Just
smell
pretty much if they
oriented
don't
that
have
you
a queen
can
right
buy
there,
some
just like that.
pheromone to mimic a queen, and they will immediately think it's a queen, and that prevents them from creating a laying worker, which is what you don't want. A laying worker is a worker bee that starts laying eggs, and the only thing she can lay, since she's never been mated, would be drones.
flow back on it yet. Flow back on the queen in there.
So I'm not going to put the flow frame back on it because there's no need to at this point. I want to get a queen in there first. Give them their stores back in case they need to eat some stuff, and then we'll again put it back together. This is going to be a thinking process of what I'm going to do. Um, I've got a little bit of time before the laying worker should kick in, but still I need to figure out what to do. So I'm going to reach out to some beekeepers in our Northeastern Oklahoma Beekeepers Association, and then we'll figure out. Well, thanks for looking. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Check back on the next video, and we'll have made a decision, and we'll move forward, and hopefully it'll be one that we can be happy with and live with. Again, thanks for watching.